South Korea's capital descended briefly into chaos after an extraordinary move by the country's president to declare martial law. Troops and protesters rushed to Seoul's parliament building, but just as suddenly as the crisis started, it was over, with the president rescinding the order after a unanimous parliamentary vote. Now, opposition parties are demanding his resignation and say his impeachment could be voted on before the end of the week. East Asia correspondent Kathleen Calderwood reports from Seoul.
A fearless rebuke to a threat that came out of the blue in the middle of the night.
I hereby declare an emergency martial law to eradicate the shameless pro-North anti-state forces that are depriving our people of their freedom and happiness.
The anti-state forces in the president's mind are parliament controlled by a popular opposition that has stifled his agenda and threatened his leadership. His declaration saw armed troops force their way into the National Assembly building in Seoul. The opposition marshalled the people.
Fellow citizens, please come to the National Assembly. Please join us and protect our collapsing democracy.
They answered the call, inspired in part by the country's troubled political past.
It doesn't make sense. As far as I know, this is the first martial law declared since 1980. Is it really happening in the 21st century?
I was about to go to bed and was watching the news. I thought this was a joke. Then it turned out to be true.
Lawmakers gathered too, voting 190 to 0 to lift the law, calling it unconstitutional.
For the soldiers and police who are currently in the National Assembly, please leave this place immediately.
The president conceded. In all, the event lasting only 6 hours.
I will accept the National Assembly's demand and lift martial law through a cabinet meeting. However, I ask the National Assembly to immediately stop the reckless activities of paralysing the function of the country through repeated impeachment attempts, manipulation of legislation and budget.
The damage will be more than just broken windows. South Koreans' faith in their government has been tested. The president now facing calls by the main opposition to resign or be impeached.
And Kathleen Calderwood joins us now from Seoul. Kathleen, what exactly would an impeachment look like?
Well, there's quite a process, Amy. The opposition has submitted a motion to impeach the president. They say they'll convene a session here at the National Assembly after midnight. So that's basically giving President Yoon a deadline to decide if he wants to resign. Now, to pass that motion, it will require a 2/3 majority vote, and that means that at least 8 members of the president's own party would have to vote in support of it for the motion to pass. Now, then, to officially remove the president from office, it then has to be approved by South Korea's Constitutional Court. If President Yoon quits or if he is impeached, the Prime Minister, Han Duck-soo, will step in until a replacement is elected, something which has to happen within 60 days.
And how has the rest of the world reacted to what's happening in Seoul?
Well, this, of course, is being closely watched around the world. South Korea's most important ally. The US says it's watching closely, and the Biden administration says it's in touch with the government here. Now, the US Deputy Secretary of State Kirk Campbell said they were watching on with grave concern, but reiterated America's ironclad commitment to South Korea, where it has nearly 30,000 troops stationed. The Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, said Australia is concerned about the situation here and hopes for a democratic and peaceful resolution. She also mentioned that Australians here in Korea should keep an eye on the Smart Traveller website. Now, the Prime Minister of Sweden was due here in South Korea later in the week to meet with President Yoon. The Prime Minister of Sweden, has decided to postpone that visit. And most interestingly, so far there has been no comment from North Korea.